Good news! The Ford S-Max Titanium. I have one.
Welcome to Untitled.mov.
The what?
Deutschland ticket. Deutschland ticket.
What?
Deutschland ticket. Deutschland ticket. Hey, oh.
Are we live?
Yeah.
I hope so.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome to Untitled.mov.
Cameron, what's happened in the past month?
That is a very good question. A lot of things have happened in the past month.
And we're not going to talk about most of them.
We're not. One thing we are going to talk about, you've been to a lot of concerts. Yeah.
Cuts to one of the cameras. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And one of the concerts that you went to
Was not this one.
was not that one. But you are now best friends with Paris Paloma. So that's
Am I?
good. Well,
Besties.
If we show
Yeah.
We do not. Do we not? Do you have the video?
I don't have the video, but
Cringe.
You helped her over the barrier, didn't you, into the moss pit?
Yes, I did. There are at least 7 angles of it on social media. Your challenge,
Find them all.
readers,
Listeners.
Readers?
Reader?
give me a
We're
camera.
not on the We're not on Mark's.
Amy, you were supposed to be doing.
I've only just got back on.
Your challenge, readers,
Wait, no, wrong one.
is to find them all. Get hunting. Next.
Right.
This is why we have the warm-up.
I'm vision mixing now. Is top program or preview?
The green row is
Cameron,
preview.
what else happened this month?
I nearly missed the train on the way up here because I got Thames linked.
Woo.
Not ideal.
Was it because of a cable thief in the St. Albans area?
No, but
Oh.
we'll come back to that. Now, one thing that has been happening in the past month is you've been continuing work on Trainee Boy,
I have.
which is your solution for tracking train timetables.
Yes.
And you've noticed an interesting quirk, haven't you?
Yes, because in doing a lot of thinking about the data models involved, I had coined what I called the Caledonian Sleeper rule, which is any assumption you make about how trains in the UK work in terms of timetabling will inevitably be violated by the Caledonian Sleeper. For instance, the schedule has a date field and a time field. Can you just stick those together to get the date time of that particular station stop, for instance? No, because the Caledonian Sleeper, among other trains, run overnight, and so the date will actually be the next day. Okay, but we could just assume that like any times before 4:30 a.m. or something are of, or like any times after 4:30 a.m. are of the date that it says. Nope, the Caledonian Sleeper runs from about 8 p.m. till about midday the next day, and trains will only split and join at stations that are booked calling points where passengers can get on and off. Nope, the Caledonian Sleeper splits and joins at Edinburgh, specifically the Highland Sleeper, which splits and joins at Carstairs, where it doesn't actually... Carstairs? No, Carlisle. It splits and joins at Carlisle, but doesn't actually let anyone get on and off there. Okay, but a train will only split into 2 trains, right? No, the Caledonian Sleeper splits into 3. And there's probably more examples that I have not enumerated here. But yes, my new thought process when testing any changes to the Trainee Boy data model, which I have been doing a lot of, is does this work with the Caledonian Sleeper, which is a train I've not yet been on.
We should all go in the Caledonian
I think
Sleeper.
we should.
Be fun. We could get like
Where's it go?
Scotland.
Where specifically?
Edinburgh,
Caledonia?
Glasgow, Inverness, Aberdeen, and Fort William. Take your pick.
Oh.
It's yeah. I mean, it would be a fun road trip for all of us.
We could get like we could
As
get,
well,
we could
well,
get, like
rail
2
trip.
We could get like 2 interconnected rooms as well.
Oh.
That would be really cool.
Can we do
Let's
an
do it.
episode?
Oh,
Can we
yeah.
do
That's our holiday.
Can we do an episode from the Caledonian Sleeper?
No, because it'll be
Oh.
at like 11 p.m. and
What
people
camera
next
are
to
you
us will
on?
want to be sleeping.
This one.
Speaking of people wanting to be sleeping,
Mark's, I can't
signage
find
screens.
You. Which camera are you
What?
on? That one. There you are. Go.
What we're learning here is that throwing infinitely many cameras at a show does not make it better.
Actually, it would if
can
I had
make it.
a Stream Deck. Oh my god. It would if I had a Stream Deck, a touch
Oh
screen.
yeah, we've lost camera 1.
Any-
battery died.
Brilliant.
Oh, wrong one.
Anyway,
Anything that isn't just a screen with a touch, like a touchpad mouse, would be good for this. But I am
more
currently...
shortcuts.
Do you know, you present a really good point. Ignore me, as you were.
So, speaking of other things that like to go to sleep, signage.
Yes, we've got a few excellent examples here of why you shouldn't use Windows for signage. Windows
If we could
and
cut to them.
some other operating systems.
on it. Camera 8, please.
Oh,
I've done it.
There we go. Thank you.
camera 8 on the left?
Right.
Yes. Look, to clarify,
Should we
I
cut back to the person talking?
Oh, no, that's not them. That's still not them.
put the camera 5, boss man. Hold
Right.
on.
If this carries on, I'm just going to unplug 3 of these cameras, and then it'll go back to normal.
Once I get my...
No, because I don't know which tree you unplugged and what you put in the black.
God.
I'm working on a keyboard shortcut.
Anyway.
So, for context, Jamie, the reason that happened was because I had the page up and down, then I got to the end and realized we had 8, so I moved them down and then put slides on the left.
Anyway, signage.
Yes, you shouldn't use Windows for it. You also shouldn't use Raspberry Pi for it, which has
As you are...
a powerlifting competition that I was spectating, and it shat the bed and had to be rebooted halfway through.
Wonderful.
That was not just for signage as well. It's the thing that shows the lifters whether or not they've had a good lift immediately afterwards. So
see.
really unhelpful for that not to be running and visible. So yeah, that was less than ideal.
Next.
Hi, Matt.
Whose are the other ones?
Not a clue.
Cool. Well, we've got a Greg's one there that is half working, and that one I think was yours,
Which one?
the middle one.
Oh. Is it? Oh, yeah, I walked past a shop.
Cool story, bro.
That was maybe midnight. Let's move.
Another recurring segment that we have here, and we've got many of them this month, is we like to take a look at the terrible notification summaries generated by Apple Intelligence.
Yes. Should we do a dramatic reading?
Let's do a dramatic reading, Mark. Let's go for it.
Could you cut to me, please? Or just the thing. Cut to the thing.
Even I probably could use it.
Team building day.
I'm still working out my shortcuts.
Team building day. Video about Gen Z workplace. Presentation style criticized. Anvil addition to work keys suggested. I'd like to see you try. Tapping one to passport previously.
I believe that's meant to be taping. Well, I think Jamie just misspelled taping. I got
Petrol engine info discrepancy. New video uploaded. And work-related humor. Fascinating conversation. Inquiries about the plan. May need to go room. Windows PCs can be problematic. Now,
yeah, go on.
what we should probably say is that it omitted some words from the original message that it summarized to form the summary
Like-
Windows PCs can be
Like
problematic.
sucks and donkey and balls.
And despite the fact
no
it's showing
particular
my
order.
profile picture, I said none of those words.
That's true.
Next up, Matt's usual kit haul not needed. Bossman can have a lie-in now. Did you have a lie-in?
I did actually. I got up about 1 o'clock, so that's quite a
Oh.
lie-in.
Need producer for stream in 15 minutes. Concern about losing Cameron.
God.
Messages about being in London. Apple shortcut departure time. Northern line. That was almost a wrap.
Hang on, I'm just finding you.
We didn't start the fire?
Car takes 5. Driver option available. Great to know. Mac Mini to be brought to CH, whatever that is. Program request. Domino's sponsorship inquired.
Are you saving the best ones for last, Mark?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good.
Sign breaks. Spot map errors. Mention Manchester Airport and the 3 Warringtons. Now this, for
I
once...
know how the 3 Warringtons is capitalized like it's a band.
The 3 Warringtons, yes.
I think I've seen them, actually.
Potentially unpopular opinion on out-of-office auto-reply emails. Silica gel available. Campus playout suffering. Mia Moore shared an image. Michael noticed rack making noise, shared an image. Corey Anderson commented. Matthew Stratford mentioned Lyra.horse. Now,
And,
this is an
and
excellent-
Richard Hammond wore a hat.
Now, this is an excellent summary of the conversation. Except that it could have just given us the conversation. Now, this one wasn't summarizing Slack, it was summarizing Instagram, where apparently it was suggested that Cameron Fox, that one over there, should become part of TFL rather than GBR.
Hang on, where are you?
And now, and finally, in the style of the openings to British car show Top Gear, tonight, Cameron Fox recommends an evening of unnecessary detail, Matthew Stratford trying to put screws back, and Mia Moore shares an image. And on that bombshell...
Yes. Moving on. As you may have seen in our cold open, we have some things to show and or tell you about.
Oh, hang on. I don't have a. I've written camera 8, but there isn't one.
Show and tell, formerly known as I went on eBay this week and I bought this. Now, Jamie,
Yes,
you've done some shopping, haven't you?
I have indeed. Quite a substantial amount of shopping compared to usual, actually. Usually, I spend, upwards of 10, 20, 30 pounds on a bit of kit online. And this time, I went on the internet and I bought this. Cameron, that's your
I
cue.
got rid of the slide. You just have to say what it is.
What?
You didn't send me a photo, so it was a stock image, and I got rid of it.
Do we have the video?
The video's already played. That was the cold open.
He bought a car, okay?
I bought a car.
Because if you've been following the show, you may have been following the saga of Jamie attempting to learn to drive. It has concluded he can drive. He has a car to drive.
I am now legally allowed in a vehicle that I can drive on the road without someone in the passenger seat and without red L plates. It's quite a sizable car. It's good for kit.
We tried it out earlier. It's good for kit. It's also good for sound system.
Yes, it's basically what I call it a surround system that also can drive if needed. We did just kind of sit in it earlier listening to it.
It was quite. We had it on half volume. Bloody freaking.
I've got you live.
Oh, you got me live. The multi-view cut out. I just assumed you were failing.
I know. I've.
Hang on, cut to that.
What?
Hold on. Hang on.
Just to show. Oh, you can't see that. Corey, can you zoom into me?
Yeah, hold on. I'm working on it.
What I've got here is a bit of white tape across my keyboard with the keyboard shortcuts of what each camera is, so that I can keep up. So
that's engineering.
That's
right
how
here.
I've been, vision mixing now.
And speaking of, anything more to say about the car?
No, I like it. I'm a big fan.
And speaking of engineering, having
I think that something about that channel is dead.
Oh, if I mean the fact the XLR's not fully in.
Okay, if we're breaking for tech,
well, no, too late.
do we want...
Speaking of, no, we're going. Speaking of tech.
Yes, let's take a look at some of the ways in which things have not quite gone to plan over the last couple of months. So this is such a good story. So this is about a game called Screeps, and an exploit that was discovered by a guy called Isaac King. So this is a pretty standard multiplayer real-time simulator. You have some creatures, and they go around claiming land, building things, claiming territory, and trying to take over the map. But a lot of those games, you tell people what to do via user interface, and then there's some kind of AI that will go and have them interact with the world. In this game, you control them by writing code yourself. They will do nothing that you do not instruct them to do by writing some JavaScript. And that sounds like a really fun concept and a game that I would love to play. But as the blog post about this exploit says, there is one small downside. If you join any of the multiplayer worlds, every other player in that world gains the potential ability to run arbitrary code on your computer. So the way that this works, you're controlling these creeps, they're called. And to do that, you write JavaScript. You might want to debug that JavaScript. And to do that, you would be very sensible to write a console.log statement, yeah? And they provide a console for you. All the code is executed server-side, but they will then send back the console output to you, so you can see what's going on. And in fact, they even, just to be nice, they will parse any HTML that is in that console output. They will parse it for you. So if you want to put some text in italics, you can put some italics text on it, and the text will be rendered properly. Lovely. That's really nice of them. Yeah. Fun fact as well, you can name the creeps that you create. So you can have functional. You can call them.
You can name them Boss Man.
You can name them Boss Man. You could also name them something that has a script tag in it. And because they've modified the console.log function to parse HTML, correct. So you can do all sorts of things with this. So if you write code at any point that will console.log the name of someone else's creatures, then congratulations, you are vulnerable to a cross-site scripting attack. You could use it to log into someone else's account. You could use it to override the behavior of their creeps, so to take them out of the game. And there is you can play this game purely on the web. There's also a native client, and if you happen to be using that, unlucky, whoever is exploiting this can run any commands they like on your file system.
So, look, how this happens, because so, firstly, you don't check for this. You are parsing HTML. Surely the first thing in your brain should be cross-site scripting. Especially when you're running it on a user's PC. Secondly, why do you let the creeps' names be long enough that they can write such lengths of arbitrary script?
Very, very true. There's more to this though, because this guy King, he found this exploit 2 years ago, and responsibly disclosed it, and kept chasing it up, and the developers did nothing. So then one day he thought, right, people actually need to be warned about this. So he left a scathing review on Steam, warning people about this vulnerability, and he got a reply from one of the developers that said, there is no cross-site scripting or other vulnerabilities in the game client.
Doubt.
And then there was a whole conversation following on from that, where they eventually accepted there was a vulnerability, but claimed, no, I was right, because it's not cross-site scripting. And so, yeah, they were like, no, that was technically accurate.
In a very, very wheezy sense of the word.
And he says that now the exploit has been fixed after it went viral and this blog post came out. Sorry, what?
Hi, Matt Strat. What can we
Hello.
do for you?
I'm going to swap you with that one because it's still better.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Hello.
Chuck the other one.
Let's reset.
Technical difficulties, but we're back.
We are indeed.
Oh, it's me. I thought it was you. It's the
God.
wonders of a PTZ. I hadn't realised it had changed who it was aimed
Yes,
at.
you did, because you made a face when it panned to you.
Okay.
I had forgotten about that.
Let's finish this one. So they've now fixed the exploit, which is a one-line change to actually parse the HTML properly and make sure this doesn't happen. But apparently, the people behind the game have continued to deny that it was a risk in the first place, deny that it should have been brought up, deny that it would be their fault if it were ever exploited, deny that they tried to keep the issue concealed, and make lots of false statements about the situation.
Do you know what this reminds me of, weirdly?
Yeah.
Do you remember the tea on her statement that they gave
Yes.
out
Well,
years ago?
They
They
were
went,
just in complete denial.
they were
but
incomplete.
yeah.
That's what I was thinking of as you were describing this. It sounds, well, I think because I randomly watched back that short as well. Go watch it. I don't know. It's linked up here.
There.
Whoever's live, I don't know. Oh, it's linked to there.
And I'm pressing the wrong one now.
JB's trying to learn Division Mix.
we are.
Yeah, anyways, that's I was
Up
just,
one of those.
it's amazing how people can just be like so in denial about vulnerabilities.
So, do you want to hear what they said, the team behind this? They said, while we still believe that the lack of filtering in console.log is not a vulnerability per se, since it concerns the player's own code which they are expected to understand, we have never considered this situation to be ideal. We simply did not have enough resources to address it earlier because we're a very small team, we have limited resources, and we were busy with another project. In addition, the threat posed by this issue was minimal, since a successful exploit would require a fairly complex combination of circumstances, including a certain willingness on the part of the potential victim to become a victim.
Now, here's the thing. I can kind of see what they're saying in that
They're wrong, but I can see where they're coming from.
Things like putting in formatting into the names of your creeps, that makes sense as a feature. You could conceivably implement this by allowing HTML there, but stripping out things like script tags. Now, you'd have to get fairly crafty because there's lots of ways to smuggle script into HTML. For instance, one that you might not have thought of is in the source attribute of an image. You could put script in there.
Yes.
But in principle, I could see what they're saying. But it does kind of give the air that they've not quite thought through the full system. Because in isolation, if you're just talking about the logging, yeah, that makes sense. But when you consider the broader scope of the system of potentially receiving input potentially receiving input of untrusted data that could potentially contain script, not good. So,
Yeah, like. Yeah, no,
Do you want to know something else funny?
go on.
Someone submitted a pull request several years ago to fix this issue. They rejected it.
Why?
Because it was a feature.
Exactly.
It wasn't a bug, it was a
Do you want to
feature.
know something else funny? Their own docs, which teach you how to write code to control these creeps, had an example in them where they console.logged the name of another player's creeps.
See,
So
that
would
I
be
can get,
vulnerable.
because you wouldn't think that just doing that
Sure.
would get you cross-site scripting.
But they also kind of, given all
no,
the
no, but the
denial,
point
the
is
fact that they gave an example where it would be vulnerable.
And then they're
is-
going, oh, but you need to be willing to become a victim
Right,
when you're
Yeah.
just
exactly.
using
When
the
they're
example
literally
code.
telling
I'll
people
give you
to do
that one.
Yeah. So yeah, that was
That was certainly not ideal.
certainly not ideal. Moving on.
Speaking of things that are...
Not ideal.
It's not ideal that these slides are still in the deck because we're not talking about them.
Speaking of things that aren't ideal, this was an interesting story from a little bit ago where someone tried to sign up for an account for Viva.com, which is a European-based payment processor. Think like Stripe, but based out of Europe. And interestingly, they sent a link to verify their email, but it never arrived. And because this person happened to be using Google Workspace, they could have a look in the Google Workspace admin system's logs to see, did the email just never make it to Google at all, or did it make it there but get rejected for some reason? And what they found is that the email was rejected because it was missing the message ID header. Now, the message ID header is a sort of standard header in emails that is essentially a unique identifier for a message. So that, for instance, when your email client is sending a reply to that message, it would include, in reply to, the ID of the message that it replied to.
Right.
Now, this is interesting for a couple of reasons. One, because when they switched to a Gmail account rather than a Google Workspace account, it came through fine, suggesting that the rules that Google apply are different on Gmail accounts and Workspace accounts. And two, because in RFC 5322, which sets out the SMTP protocol, the inclusion of a message ID header is written as a should, not a must, which means technically it is valid, though dubious, for emails to not have that message ID header. And what's interesting here is that despite it being a should, Google in their implementation have effectively made it a must item. And I would be willing to put at least 10 Polish zloty on other email providers. On other email providers having also implemented this as a must requirement, because in practice, any sensible email sender will include a message ID, except seemingly not Viva.com's account verification system.
So we talked about this. Sorry, let me get to a camera angle that actually has me in it. So we talked about. Sorry, our vision mixer ran away for context. So we talked about this when this sort of broke, when this happened, and the way I sort of landed was the people who were in the wrong was I've forgotten the name of
Viva.com.
No, the standards organization. What's the name for it?
The IETF?
The IETF. Yes, the Internet Engineers Task Force, whatever it is. I remember it has task force in the name. I thought that was funny. Yeah, because really, it's a should statement. So Viva.com are correct in the fact that they haven't implemented it. They are still correctly implementing the spec.
They should have implemented it, but they didn't, and that was...
Google are wrong in the wrong in the fact that they've treated it as a should, but really, it should be a must at this point, but it's not. Do you know what I mean? Does that come across correctly? Oh, we can cut bits out.
Now,
so really, the ones that are wrong are the IETF for not updating the spec to make this a must.
and when you say IETF, you mean one guy 20 years ago who wrote the email spec.
Yes.
Now, the other thing is that the argument that Google would give for rejecting them is probably spam filtering, because any sensible, legitimate sender would be sending emails with that header in, which means that Google probably thought anyone who isn't doing that is probably a spammer. And what's fascinating about looking at it from that perspective is that the whole field of spam filtering and distinguishing malicious actors from legitimate ones very much relies on these sort of gaps in the specification. A should that's a de facto must would be, and so anyone who isn't doing it probably isn't doing something right. And that's just the sort of reality that you live in when you are dealing with malicious attackers at a scale like Gmail's, processing billions, maybe trillions of emails a day. And speaking of things that process billions, maybe trillions of things a day, these are becoming increasingly tenuous. This is...
What?
I was going to do a bit.
Oh, I was cutting to the slide so you can talk over what it was.
Yeah.
Should we start again?
And this is breaking bug report, as in this happened literally 2 days ago before we go on air. So, if you were editing Wikipedia on the afternoon of the 5th of March 2026, you may have noticed that for a couple of hours you couldn't edit because the sites were in read-only modes. Now, you're giving me a concerned face.
How does that happen?
Well, it's a thing that the Wikipedia operators can do when there are things that cause them to have to do it. And in this particular case, what had happened is that, at least what transpired that what had happened, is that a member of the Wikimedia Foundation's security team was testing various limits related to these things called user scripts, which are basically little bits of JavaScript that people can willingly inject into their Wikipedia reading experience, which add things like for instance, extra buttons on users that are like shortcuts for reporting them to various notice boards, or like tools that help you edit articles more quickly. And what he accidentally ended up doing, from what we can tell, is that he accidentally loaded in a malicious script from the Russian Wikipedia, which was designed to essentially self-replicate, editing itself onto other pages, and sorry, now I'm going to start that one again. And what that script was designed to do was to delete pages at random, including using a tool called Nuke, which is only accessible to people with site administrator powers, as well as replicate itself where possible. And this deleted several pages on MetaWiki, which is sort of the central project coordination wiki. Now, the Wikimedia Foundation put out a statement saying that the affected pages have been restored and they believe no permanent damage had occurred as a result of that code, and that they have no reason to believe that Wikipedia was actively under attack or that personal information was breached as part of that incident. Now, this is obviously hot off the press, so lots of questions are going to be asked both internally in the Wikimedia Foundation and within the Wikipedia community. But one of them is going to be, how did we even end up in a situation where somebody with security in their job title is running effectively random scripts written by random people? More to follow.
Absolutely. But not from the bug report, because we are done with that and we're moving on to some news. Now, to kick us off today, does anyone remember last time we all got Thames linked quite comprehensively, and we found out that the reason for that was someone nicked a bunch of cabling in the St Albans area.
Yes, this did happen.
Now, so imagine my surprise when I saw this news article the other day.
Someone ripped up a bunch of cable.
Someone's been at it again.
This was on the A617 in Nottinghamshire. 1,700 metres of cable stolen. Guys,
So,
we are dealing with a serial cable thief, as opposed to a serial cable thief.
Oh my...
So,
that's Matt's chat.
so if you ripped up 1,700 meters of cable from the A617 in Nottinghamshire, put it back.
Put it back.
Oh, you cut off the camera I was talking to. I was talking into my.
We don't need the PTZ. There's a camera below it pointing in the same
Yes,
place.
but I was talking into that one, and as I was talking, you cut away, you bastard.
No, I
Given
cut
that
away
no
long
one's
before
sat there,
that.
it would be nice if we were cross-shooting on that one, but anyway.
Speaking of...
Mark, you've moved.
Speaking of things. Speaking
What things?
Speaking of getting into pickles.
There we
What
go.
pickles?
There it is. Yes. So,
Vision mixing pickles.
one of the other things that we talked about on our last episode was the company Pickle, their AR glasses, Pickle 1, and their Pickle OS. They claim, as in case you don't recall, to have solved both AR glasses and the problem of indexed augmented human memory.
Also
which
known
are-
as bollocks.
Correct. And we talked in detail about the whole thing of that they clearly have not, in fact, solved AR glasses. And they got in the news again recently because they sent out a message asking for feedback from all of their users. And they accidentally CC'd them, which means that they could all see a list of every single user of Pickle OS. And thanks to this, we know that there are 395 of them.
For anyone watching who has had to deal with data breach disclosure,
Yeah.
you will know what ensues from this.
Mm-hmm.
But for anyone here who has also been at an early stage startup and to know what it's like to have your not exactly stellar customer base size disclosed, you will know exactly how the Pickle folks are feeling as well.
Mm-hmm.
They must be in a bit of a pickle.
Moving swiftly on.
Speaking of other people in a bit of a pickle, this one is a bit of a quick one, but it's a very amusing one in that the programming language Julia had their documentation website taken down from Google search results because, get this, an OnlyFans creator submitted a DMCA takedown request for their logo.
What?
Sorry, whoops. I got Cameron, Corey, and Jamie and Marks mixed up.
I've also done something
Easily
similar.
Did
The
you have a
buttons are all
reaction to the-
labelled wrong.
No, they're not.
I pressed
We're
what
just
we
both
Stop
pushing them.
talking about the vision mixing, please.
The camera's gone rogue. Not ideal.
Yeah. That.
Now, what is also interesting is we've talked a bit in the past about various governments starting to impose requirements about age verification for accessing content on the internet or on computers that young children maybe shouldn't be accessing. Now, California signed into law in October 2025 the Digital Age Assurance Act, which requires, quote, every operating system provider in bollocks.
From the top.
Thank you, Matt.
Okay.
Matt's just informed us that barely any of these XLRs work, which is handy.
Fantastic.
If you're actually watching this live, sorry, we're not going to talk about this one anymore.
Because my microphone was the fuckered, and I concluded, and it made me lose my train of thought, and I realized there wasn't there one in the first place. Sorry.
Okay.
We're sorry.
Well, meanwhile, on this side of the pond, there has been more news on the online safety front. Now,
Okay, never mind.
sorry,
I was going to talk about the last one. I was going to wait for Marks to finish. I had opinions on it.
well, I realized. Okay, well,
What was your?
What are your opinions, Corey?
because I realized I didn't actually have an explanation of it.
Oh, if you don't have an explanation, then my opinions on it without an explanation on. I don't have a full explanation. Should we just move on?
yeah,
Sorry,
quickly,
Corey.
please. Okay, so meanwhile, on this side of the pond, there has been more news out of Downing Street about ways that they want to. There's been more news out of Downing Street on the online safety front. So none of this is being passed into law yet, but these are things they're saying they want to crack down on in the future. So they're considering measures to introduce a minimum age limit for social media, as we've seen in Australia. They also are looking at restricting features that are harmful to young people, like infinite scrolling, which is an interesting one, as well as examining restrictions on children's use of AI, and options to age restrict, most significantly, age restrict or limit children's use of VPNs where it undermines their existing legislation. So I imagine people have some feelings about the idea of putting an age restriction on VPNs.
Good luck.
I thought
Yeah, yep. You're gonna.
Good luck doing it in a way that's not going to screw up every business that uses a VPN.
Well, to be fair, you could probably legislate your way out of that specific hole. I think. I think that there's going to be bigger holes that they may struggle to legislate themselves out of.
Yeah.
I could see where they're coming from. It's not going to work. That's about the extent of my thoughts on this matter.
I just think it's cringe.
Nice.
Like the vision mixing. Of our
Moving on.
sponsor, Squarespace.
We are not we are not sponsored by Squarespace. Just to clarify.
Now, this is a saga that's been developing over the past month and a half or so. Well, archive.today, also known as archive.is, archive.ph, archive. Various other top-level domains, is a website with a fairly simple idea. You can take a snapshot of a website and then later come back to it and see what the website looked like when that snapshot was taken. It's used for various things. For instance, it's used for snapshotting articles to reference them in Wikipedia articles so that you can reference the version at the time that it was written rather than at whatever time it happens to be accessed in the future.
But doesn't Wikipedia also have that?
No.
It does.
No?
You can view history, can't you?
No, as in web pages, not Wikipedia articles.
I think you said Wikipedia.
Oh, sorry, no, I meant I meant pages cited in Wikipedia articles.
Yeah.
Because for the referencing, it matters what version of a page you're looking at.
So just to clarify, because I think this is correct, but I want to double check for the viewers as well. Archive Today, distinct from archive.org.
Yes, entirely distinct from the Internet Archive or their Wayback Machine. Which, yes, thank you for clarifying, because that's going to get confusing. So, around mid-January, someone noticed some very strange code on archive.iz's pages, where they have a standard, please confirm you're not a robot, interest title page, and it had started making, every 300 milliseconds, requests to some guy's personal blog with a random string in the query, presumably to get around caches. In other words, it very much looked like archive.today had turned their user... In other words, it very much looked like archive.
We have actual cameras on each of us. We don't even need the PTZ.
In other words, it looked like archive.today had very much turned all of their users into unwitting participants in a DDoS attack.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, and there was a whole series of the author of the personal blog, I think... Now, the best theory that we can come up with for why this is happening is that the author of that blog had several years prior, in 2023, done some research as to the people running archive.is and things like the tech stack and who is behind it, and they'd found associations with people in Russia, and starting from that point, they had both their website taken down a few times, as well as interesting emails, which essentially amounted to, please could you not put details of my identity on the internet, bearing in mind that there wasn't actually all that much identifying information on there. You can read the post yourselves, linked there for more of it, where the person who was running the blog politely refused. They offered to blank out some of the information but not take down the full blog post. And seemingly in response, the operators of archive.today started DDoSing them by the hand of people accessing it. And the other interesting thing that transpired after people started doing a bit more investigation into the behavior of the operators of archive.today is that not only had they got their users into a unwilling DDoS attack, but also they had found that some snapshots of pages had been altered to include almost random references to the operator of this blog on entirely unrelated pages. And this spurred a discussion among the Wikipedia community, we're talking about it again, about whether they should continue using archive.today, because they were using it as a reliable snapshot of the former contents of a web page, but now that operators have shown that they can't necessarily be trusted to keep those snapshots truthful, and that Wikipedia may accidentally cause their users to participate in the DDoS, maybe they shouldn't be used. And thus the decision was taken that no links to archive.is or archive.today or archive.any of those domains will be allowed on any new Wikipedia articles. And that is still in force today. So I've only given a sort of high-level summary of the saga. There's a lot of reading that you can do. Again, we will link some of it down there. But it's...
For a nice, evening read.
Yeah, definitely. But a really fascinating story, I think.
Absolutely. Speaking of fascinating...
This shit.
Yeah. This shit.
The US State Department is developing an online portal that will enable people in Europe and elsewhere to see content banned by their government, including alleged hate speech and terrorist propaganda, a move Washington views as a way to counter censorship. In other words, the US government are making an official VPN for...
So, it's quite funny that this is coming right after. Oh, Keir Starmer wants. I say Keir Starmer. The British government want to ban.
Which, in fairness, he is the spokesperson for.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, but I don't want to speak to his exact opinions.
Anyway.
I want to speak to the opinions of the
fair
government.
enough, yeah.
Want to ban VPNs to stop people from accessing certain content, and then the US is coming out with, "We're giving you all a VPN so you can access content your government doesn't want you to see." It feels very funny timing.
So, I'm going to answer my own question.
Go.
The question is why VPNs already exist. This doesn't change anything. The answer is PR. This is how they want to position themselves on this issue.
The answer is they can see the network traffic of the people using it.
Also,
I was about to say, it's not like the US government haven't been known to do this. Yeah,
And also, it's not like various senior folks in the US administration haven't got themselves in hot water with European regulators about the contents of web pages
Also
and their
true.
postings.
yeah.
I think you could do some independent research as to what we're referring to.
I mean, there was the whole thing about there was that building which was the biggest router in the US that just had a room which was speculated just to be for the NSA or whatever. So, maybe don't trust America with your data. I mean, don't trust any government with your data, but maybe
especially-
not the American one.
But especially don't trust Donald Trump with your VPN provider.
Yeah.
Don't use Donald Trump for
And we've
VPN.
been demonetized.
Oh
Cameron,
no.
Trust
Anyway.
Donald Trump for VPN.
Oh, no money for us. Oh, wait, we don't get money.
Subscribe.
Can we get money?
Like, comment, subscribe. In slightly more fun news.
Yeah,
Oh.
let's talk some gaming, shall we?
Yeah, let's do that.
Got a few stories for us.
Yeah, so first up, after 4 months. I don't know what the one that happened 4 months before this one was. I think it was another Sonic game. A new pirate on the scene has found a way to hack Denuova. For the context, Denuova is
Anti-piracy.
anti-piracy. That's what my brain kept
DRM
saying.
tool.
A DRM tool.
Which when it first came out was known for being very annoying for pirates to get around. Not unbreakable, because fundamentally no DRM is, but very difficult.
Yes, it caught a lot of fire, especially along non-pirates, because there was noticeable performance decreases when this was implemented to when it was not. Like there's been cases where because it's a private company that makes Denuova, people pay licenses for it. When those licenses run out, it gets removed from games, and people have noticed distinct performance increases in games when they release a patch that slowly removes Denuova. So for a long time, there was only, I think, from what I've heard, about like 2 or 3 people who could crack Denuova and have been known to. One retired or left the scene. One only cracks Football Manager. And the other one's been less active, might have also... The other one was unknown if she actually was able to crack Denuova or just stole other people's cracks. And now finally someone else has entered the scene who can allegedly... Well, clearly games have been released that can. I couldn't find a lot of technical detail onto how they did it. The one article I found simply says they used a hypervisor to hack it, and I don't exactly know what that means in the context of knowing what a hypervisor is.
Bullshit.
Yeah, I'm calling bullshit. But apparently it works. I haven't tried it.
For legal reasons.
For legal reasons.
Now, what I find fascinating about this whole saga is not that it's difficult to crack a DRM, because because you can make increasingly convoluted DRMs that will eventually get cracked. The thing that I'm finding interesting here is the amount of drama that you're alluding to in the game cracking space.
Yeah. You're saying that as if you want me to explain more, but that's about all I have on the...
I can add to that, because
Go.
this is not a new thing, because the thing about people who crack these games is that they don't get paid for it.
No.
They do it entirely for their own personal amusement.
For a cracking time.
Yeah, and because they enjoy a technical challenge, and presumably also to a certain element because they enjoy all the people in forums talking about how great they are at it.
Yeah.
Which,
Well, we're doing it now.
yes, which then means that when you have somebody else allegedly stealing your cracks, or just cracking the same game as you but better, you have the whole rivalry between rival groups of game crackers, and that's a really fascinating thing to watch in a scene that has evolved around just cracking games.
Yeah. It is. Shall we move on?
Let's move on.
I don't think there's much more to say on that, but interesting, and it's interesting to see how this will develop. Next up, Xbox, just a few days ago, have confirmed they are working on Project Helix, their new... no, IGN, stop autoplaying. Sorry, I'm looking at an IGN article.
That was your first mistake.
Well, yes. Microsoft's new gaming CEO, Asher Sharma, who just took over recently from Phil Spencer, has announced the codename for their next console, Project Helix. There's not much more to talk about. They haven't mentioned much.
Do we know anything else about it?
Well, we know one thing they revealed, that it will play both Xbox and PC games.
Ah.
Which I think this is interesting coming off of a couple months ago we talked about the Steam machine and that being a bit of a hybrid between consoles and PCs. It seemed like Valve was going to have that space down. Okay. Valve was going to have that space down.
Shall we move over there because there are only 4 of us and then we will be cross-shooting on both cameras and that's nicer.
Are you going to run that HDMI?
Good point.
No, hang on.
Fine.
Stay where you are.
Sit.
Fine. Right.
Good fox.
As you were. Sorry.
We don't have an angle for Jamie, but that's fine.
Let's do
them.
a whole camera just for him.
That's why I sat here.
Oh,
We will always.
so we do.
Yeah.
I sat here because there's this one just pointing at a TV.
I've just got a whole sofa to myself now. This is excellent.
I mean, the HDMI could reach if you shoved along and I went there. Should we do that while we have interrupted?
Matt's telling us
that
there's
would
15
be
minutes.
far more sensible.
He's
Corey,
telling us
happy
there's
to join us
15
on that?
meters of it. There should be room.
Is there a microphone here that isn't shat?
This one will reach.
Right, hang on.
Excellent.
I want to... Oh, dear.
An iPhone has gone flying in city we are filming in city. I've sat on a roll of lecky tape.
There's an XLR around my things.
Be careful about your phrasing there, Anderson.
Hang on, where's my mic?
There was an XLR around my penis.
My mic.
God knows, maybe reshuffled 4 times.
Might be this one.
Laptop.
Right, hang on. We've played musical chairs now.
Wait, am I coming around there?
Yes, please.
Oh my god.
And we don't need weird non-cross-shoot angle.
Right, hang on. So...
Oh yes, the GoPro is brilliant. Matt, do you not have a talkback mic?
HDMI gone.
For fuck's sake, he needs a talkback mic.
Why is the... Why have we lost camera 1?
What is happening?
Promise this will be worth it when the rest of the show looks nice. Move along in which direction?
To your left. Well, you're not going to move to your fully right, are you?
The one camera for me that we had isn't working.
It's fine, Peter says on Jamie can. Go sit down, look.
Oh,
Okay.
right, it's working.
Everything's in. If you sit, then we'll be able to see Jamie.
While you're
Boss
there,
man,
can
would
you
you...
knock
Yeah.
The what? I've got a lot. So, for the viewers at home, we've just randomly decided halfway through the show to actually make the shooting look nice because no one was sat in this chair.
Can you give me a little more slack on that Cat 5, please?
Which Cat 5?
The big one on the fucking
The fucking green one?
Yes.
Hey.
Thank you.
Boss man, do us a favour while you're up. Can you point that camera at where we're sitting? Just
Where?
This one?
Yeah, that one.
That one,
May
the
as
zoom
well.
on that is not going to work.
Oh, that'll be fine.
Right, we now have 2 cameras with the same
Yeah.
fucking...
Yes.
We can do it, just do it as a close-up on me or something.
Yeah.
We have PTZ for that.
Yes, but I'm going to have to redo all my
Just
fucking...
zoom it fucking somewhere.
I can put that one there, let's put that one there. We have 2 different angles.
Yeah, this is my
I'm
mic.
a
I'm so glad Matt's done,
What's wrong with
Can you pass my phone?
So let's just cut to Matt
He still doesn't have a talkback mic.
Oh well, we'll live. Just do sign language. Cameron, we don't have your slides.
Interesting. The HDMI's plugged in.
Well, unplug it and plug it back in.
Yep.
Oh!
Okay.
Hey!
Hold on. Wait. It was off.
You're joking. Okay. Happy days. Thank you.
Project Helix.
Yes.
Shit, sorry, yeah,
All
wait,
my
wait,
labels are wrong. All my labels are wrong.
Oh,
matter.
we have a question in the chat.
Whoa.
Here's the real question. How many chords... Could you cut to me, please?
I don't know which one you are because we've moved the cameras.
Right.
That's me.
Try 4. That'll do. That'll
Hey, pass me a Sharpie.
do. Where?
There was one with the tape.
Down my ass.
It might have gone down the sofa. Yeah. I have a Sharpie.
Oh, we were on the wrong...
Sorry, I'm done. Give us
Neither
2
of those
seconds.
currently are working wide. You answer the question while I fix that.
Yeah, the question from Ipdance in the chat, how many chords do we have in that room? I will estimate
Far too many.
about a
Are we
kilometer.
including everything in Jamie's server rack?
Don't include the server.
About a kilometer.
Ish.
Well,
Not counting all the chords going from here to next door.
why are we live on the camera that's being moved? We currently have, let's see.
I will also note that camera's very yellow.
We have 8 inputs into a video switcher. We have 2 outputs from that. There are then more from there, including some...
Should we cut to the person
Override.
talking?
I did. Someone swapped back.
That one. That'll do. Jamie.
We also have a mic for each person and various other... Basically, it's a mess, as you can see.
Yes.
That's pretty much the gist.
I think that's on. Right.
Okay.
Speaking of a mess, Project Helix.
Hang on.
We have an actual camera.
Right, hang on.
What we're holding.
I don't know
Okay,
which
so,
one it is.
where was I? Yes, Project Helix. Should I just start it all again?
Go for it.
Because we've, unless you want
On
to
a
cut this
completely
onto a highlight.
different camera angle.
Interesting highlight.
Where was the... So, Xbox have announced... Which camera am I on?
Well, these two... Once again,
We're on
these
us,
two
it's
are
fine.
fucking same.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm trying to find, which was live.
Who's done that?
It doesn't
I
matter.
specifically panned them to be slightly different, Fox.
I wanted one shot of the 3 of us. Anyway.
I have 2. You have 2 shots of the 3 of us.
Oh my god.
How does anyone watch this?
We'd have to have one of Corey. There you are, Corey. Go. What are you doing?
So, fuck.
Go. Going out with a bang.
Or a whimper.
Or a wet fart.
Corey, do the thing.
Recently, Xbox's new Microsoft gaming...
Sorry.
I will put out, we have a hard out and it is imposed.
Yes.
Here on Untitled.mov, we love jet lag the game.
Okay, right. We can do
Deutschland
this.
ticket.
Oh my god.
It's in an hour. Okay, Microsoft's new gaming CEO, Asha Sharma, has announced Project Helix, their new console. She hasn't given much more information than that yet. However, they have announced, in a surprising shock, that they will play both Xbox and PC games.
How's that going to work?
Well, so they recently released the Xbox ROG Ally X. I think I got the full product name.
That's a lot of words.
That is, which was a partnership with ROG to make an Xbox handheld. And to do this, they did a lot of work on like a Windows game mode that was pretty much fully stripped back. It didn't render like any of the normal Windows UI or stuff in the background. It was quite stripped back. It had like a gaming interface where you could launch games from the Xbox app. You could launch Steam games. You could launch Epic Games games. All there with a controller interface. So my assumption is their next console will probably just be running, I'm assuming, a version of Windows that is running this same interface, probably without any of the actual Windows bits in it.
Bearing in mind, of course, that Xboxes are known to basically run a version of Windows already.
Yeah. So my assumption is they're going. I honestly, part of me thinks, did they see Valve as competition with the Steam machines?
Possibly, because this isn't a technical. I feel like technically, if they wanted to, they could have made Xboxes run Windows games years ago. It's the
Yeah.
fact that they're doing it now that's the interesting bit.
It is, because there's a part of me that's going, oh, Valve announced a Steam machine, maybe they're making this announcement to go, oh, this will run PC games, and because it'll be Windows, it will have wider compatibility than the Steam machine, just naturally, because so many games are built for Windows. However, like I said, they released the RGLIX, the Xbox RGLIX, last year, with all this work for this interface, and it feels like all of this work for this interface and the new gaming interface was laying the groundwork for this new console generation.
Maybe the positioning is going to be that it can run games that the Steam Deck... is the Steam machine also going to run SteamOS?
Steam Machine's also going to run SteamOS.
Maybe the positioning is that it will be able to run all the games that machines running SteamOS can't run, as declining as that number is.
Yeah. It is interesting, because it's interesting they say Xbox and PC games. So will you still be able to buy separate Xbox and PC versions of games?
There will probably still be games that come out as Xbox exclusives. So I
That's
presume it might be
interesting.
positioned as that, because if you buy the same game twice, not that you would, but I feel like the quality difference you're going to see is pretty much nil.
But that feels like at that point, if it's running the Windows or the modified, that just feels like you're basically locking it to a specific, software locking it as opposed to a good reason for having an Xbox game.
Well, yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to be a Windows device running Windows games and slightly different Windows games.
So how's it going to... I mean, we know the sort of Series XS, their current generation, is...
Say some more letters.
The Series X and the Series S, that's their actual product names.
Oh, I know, they're silly.
We can talk about Microsoft product names more.
Another time.
The Xbox One X, which is different to the Series X, which is different to the...
Seriously?
Oh, don't get me started. But... So, those are run, like you say, pretty much Windows, but it's not Windows. Like, you couldn't just take an executable for Series X, Series S, or an Xbox One game and run it
on a PC, no.
So, is there going to be some form of, like, Proton-style compatibility layer for them to run those games on the new console?
I feel like there probably will be something like that, but it'll be a lot thinner.
Yes, because it is pretty much Windows.
And it'll be using many of this... I have not developed games for Xbox, so I don't know what the technical differences are, but I feel like many of the APIs are going to be very similar.
Yeah. I mean, they'll be able to use Direct. I mean, I'm pretty sure
it'll be DirectX. It'll be like some Win32 bits.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in conclusion, the fact that it'll be able to run Windows games is not surprising from a technical perspective. It's surprising from a product perspective.
Yeah. It's surprising that they went there and now's where they went there, because it's been as far as the Xbox One has been, whereas when they're close, even design language-wise, the Xbox One, they were
it was just Windows.
tying that quite close to Windows 8 at the time.
They basically could have done this a while ago.
They could have done this a very long time ago.
They're doing it now.
But
They're doing
why
it now.
have they chosen now is what we're so interested in.
Volvo?
It's the Volvo.
They're not doing their MOTs. Well, no, that was
Speaking
Volkswagen.
of things that aren't happening...
Highguard. So, some people might remember we talked briefly about the Game Awards a couple shows ago. One thing I didn't touch on, because I didn't think it was that interesting, was the end of the show and the big... James just stubbed his toe. One thing I didn't touch...
That was not his toe, that was his elbow.
Literally right there.
Hello, welcome to the bullshit cam. All right, back to the show.
Anyways, so...
Oh, shit, wrong one. There you are.
One thing I didn't touch on, because I didn't think it was that interesting, was the, James just looked quite shocked.
What button was that?
What?
What button sends it to you?
None, I thought... You keep cutting to the PDZ, so I haven't had a chance to redo my presets yet. So I was about to save that as a preset, then you moved it again.
Oh, sorry, right, you do that and I'll...
Anyways, no, let me talk about this first, and then I'll do it when someone else is talking. So, you might remember on a previous show, Sorry, I got distracted by the PDZ. We have a hard out.
A hard on? Who's got a hard on?
Me right now.
You've got a what?
Din-dins.
So,
Think of the din-dins.
I was trying to fucking start.
That's what she said.
Here on Untitled.mov, we love jet lag the game.
Someone please hit Corey with a hammer.
Dong! a previous show, we discussed briefly the Game Awards last year, hosted by Jeff Keighley. And one thing we didn't touch on, because I didn't think it was that interesting, was their big end of show showstopper announcement. These are usually big, massive announcements. And at the end of the show this year, they announced a game from an unknown developer, which was a game called Hightail. Not Hightail, that's a different game.
Highguard, not Hightail, Highguard.
You're doing so well.
Just keep going, just keep going.
They announced a game called Highguard, which was coming from former Titanfall 2, former Apex Legends devs.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like what I would call fantasy slop. I'm not using slop in terms of like AI stuff, but it just looked like they'd taken a bunch of sci-fi and fantasy elements and shoved it together. It looked a bit like sort of Unreal Engine default assets, sort of like off-the-shelf assets kind of like vibe. It didn't really seem very
Like
coherent.
mid-2010s Steam asset flips?
Yeah, a bit like that, but like polished up.
Better than that.
Better than that, but it didn't look that grabbing. The gameplay looked okay, didn't look as good as Titanfall 2, which, I mean, it's hard to get as good as Titanfall 2. It looked fine, and it looked visually uninteresting, so I didn't even think to talk about it. I kind of forgot it happened. It turns out it came out. Well, it came out briefly. Sorry, I've somehow opened Google Groups.
Keep going.
It came out briefly, and then many staff members were laid off, sadly, from the developer just 2 weeks after the game launched, which is not a good sign.
That sounds like their launch didn't go very well.
No. To recount their launch, it was released on the 26th of January, and it drew in just under 100,000 players on PC. And
Which is not great, not terrible.
Not great, not terrible. That's according to SteamDB, so that's just on Steam. However, it was only downhill from there, and a few days later, it was only able to attract 36,000 concurrent players on PC. And that was on the day they announced the layoffs. And then the day that they announced that they were cancelling the game, they were pulling it, they saw a peak of 460 users that day.
Oh, that's from 100,000 to 460.
I don't know if that's a peak up of 460 users, or that was their peak that day. If that was their peak that day, that's rough.
In other words, just looking at the numbers, it sounds like people went, "This is exciting. There's not much here."
Yeah, and the dev had said they had like a year's worth or more of updates planned out and stuff.
Should they have delayed the game?
I think it clearly wasn't in a state to launch. Because apparently the reason it ended up with the big end of the show announcement at the Game Awards wasn't because they paid a huge amount of money, which is typically how these things happen. It was because they came to Jeff Keighley with the game, and obviously Jeff Keighley had liked their previous work and went, "Yeah, I'm going to give this a top spot," just based on their previous work.
Just based on and the potential of the game.
And the potential of the game. It just clearly. I mean, I think there was some misguided choices just with general design and game, maybe not game design. I haven't played it, so I can't speak to the game design. But visual design, I just don't think it was that visually interesting. I think it needed a couple more years in the can before they went with
or at
anything.
least another 6 months, maybe.
Yeah, and this is disappointing because we talk so many times about so many devs leaving big developers, starting their own studios, and making great big projects. And we talked about Hightail. Well, Hightail when people leaving a studio, but they eventually became that.
And other good examples of like Respawn Entertainment.
Yeah.
Who all left Infinity Ward.
I mean, one of my favorite games of all time that we touched on in the Game Awards episode, Clair Obscur Expedition 33, was made of a bunch of former Ubisoft devs. This happens a lot, and we talk about all this, the success stories, but clearly there is...
It sometimes doesn't work out.
It sometimes doesn't work out, and I think this is a case of that, which is really depressing.
Yeah, the question here is, as many lessons as we can learn, as other developers can learn from this, and they can, I think, it's also just sad.
It is just sad. I mean, people lost their jobs. That's sad.
Yeah. A game came out that was not very good. People losing their jobs. Oh, that's just
shit. Especially since, they left their former developer to work on this, and now they're...
Because they clearly believed in it.
Yeah. Getting laid off with clearly not a lot of notice, given that the game just sort of flopped like this. I mean, clearly everyone at the studio is going to lose their job at this point, if they got nothing going for them to make money. It's sad.
Well,
Something less sad.
yes, let's
Yeah.
move on, I feel. Now for the quick round, I think.
Yeah.
We
It's
have
our
been-
usual segment. Sorry, Marks, fire away.
We have been sipping from the fruits of the apple juice.
We have indeed.
It's the usual segment where these two fuckers bang on about their favourite company. Let's go.
That's libel slander.
So, quick fire.
Cameron, about your favorite company.
Fire. Would you like to tell us
know
about
about
some
that.
new products and some new things about those
Absolutely.
products?
There have been quite a few announcements. since
Apple
our-
did the thing that they sometimes do where we're just like, fuck it, we're just going to announce some products. No
Yeah.
fanfare, like no big marketing event with holographic floating slides. We're just going to fucking announce them.
Yeah, so first of all, a little while ago, they announced a new AirTag. This is the first update since they launched the original. And at first, I kind of took the piss about it because the things that they've improved are it's 50% louder, it had a longer Bluetooth range, and you can do kind of precision finding from further away. And I was like,
sounds a
yeah,
bit
okay,
like
they've not
Dizzy.
added anything. But what else actually would we expect them to add to an AirTag? Like,
Yeah,
it's,
like the AirTag is basically a solved product. They've just made it better.
What I want to know is what's the price? Has it increased?
no, it's the same.
Okay, so
It's just
more-
a straight upgrade.
It's a quality of life improvement.
Fair
One
enough,
thing that
can't
is
knock
quite
it.
interesting is they've added precision finding on Apple Watch for Series 9 and later.
So if you lose your keys, you can find them from your watch.
If you lose your phone, you can find it from your watch. I mean, you can always play a sound, but that might be more helpful. It's gained the second generation ultra wideband chip, which
Those
Apple
are
refused
words.
to see. The previous one was called U1. They have not used the brand name U2 because they don't want to get sued by U2. So they have to say every
They had a
single
good
time,
relationship with you two.
second generation ultra wideband chip. Well, probably not anymore.
Well,
They
I
besmirched their
imagine-
name by annoying everyone by installing their album.
Oh
I was
yeah, I
going to
forgot
say
about
it
that
didn't
one.
actually go that well in the
Yeah.
end.
And then, as you rightly mentioned, this week they did their usual kind of update drop on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So here are all the new products. Again, this is sort of like mostly there's one kind of exciting new thing, but mostly quality of life improvements across the board. So they've introduced the iPhone 17e, upgrading the 16e. This is their second of their new strategy of base model iPhone, and that is at $599. The big news is they've added MagSafe to it.
Just to clarify, that is American dollars.
That is US dollars.
Is that the same as the 16e?
Did they not have? Sorry, not to interrupt you there.
Go on.
Did they not have MagSafe on their lower model phones previously?
Well,
They had on the base 17.
Okay.
yeah, they had
Yeah.
it. They
Not
didn't.
on
I knew
the SE. Yeah.
not on the
yeah.
SE,
Not on the.
not on the
E-phones.
SE or no the E's.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they've added MagSafe. To answer your question, the starting price is the same, but with double the storage, and this is going to be a little bit of a theme. So now,
Because if you watch back this video here, where we talk about our thoughts on the iPhone 16e and why its value proposition was somewhat questionable, this might be a slightly easier sell.
yeah, I remember we specifically talked about MagSafe and that being one of the things that made it sit weirdly in the lineup. So against the A19 chip, which is from the base model 17, and that's about it. It's again. It's not something that anyone is going to go out and upgrade from the previous generation, but if you're in the market for a new entry-level iPhone, then it's a bit better than the one before it. Ooh,
We don't have a camera pointing at you.
Yes, we do.
we do.
Give me 2 seconds.
And so yeah,
I want to talk about the Neo. I've just come in and
I
been
would also like to talk about the Neo.
Then on the same day as the iPhone, they also introduced an M4 iPad Air.
We're on the wrong angle.
we're working on it. There we are. There's Matt Strat.
Hello.
Right. We've not got to him yet.
Oh, have we not?
Please wait. My opinions are loading.
Hang on.
Yes, so same day as the iPhone, they introduced the new iPad Air with an M4 in it. So that's a 30% faster than the M3 that it had previously.
By Apple's usual bullshit benchmarks.
Yep, and they've also increased the RAM from 8 to 12 gigs, and that's about it. In fact, they even reused some of the marketing images from the previous one because it is a spec bump. But again, if you're going out and buying an iPad Air, you will get a better one today than you did last week. And then on Wednesday, they introduced some new Macs. So there's a new MacBook Pro that gets the M5 Pro and M5 Max chips, which were newly announced this week. It gets 2 times faster read and write speeds for SSDs, and like the iPhone, each model gets double the starting storage, so it's now 1 terabyte for the Pro and 2 terabytes for the Max.
This is going to make the developers of Asahi Linux even more annoyed now because they've got another chip to support, another 2 chips.
I imagine Apple's not particularly bothered what they think, though.
Do you not mean the developer of Asahi
No,
Linux?
the developers.
Is it multiple people again
Yes.
now? Okay.
Well, there's always been multiple people.
And then also a new MacBook Air that gets the M5 base level. Again, double the SSD speeds, double the starting storage to 512, and also a new Studio Display and an all-new Studio Display XDR. The big news there is they're getting camera upgrades, including desk view. So now when you're... but actually, there is some other news as well, which is you had very strong opinions about the way that these were previously sold in terms of the display and the stand.
Yes, so previously, when you bought the Apple Pro Display XDR, I think, but my memory's not fuzzy because this was a few years ago, you got a £2,000 or $2,000 display, and then you had a choice of an $800 VESA mount attachment or a $1,000 monitor stand. And Apple were, maybe unfairly, but still somewhat fairly, ridiculed for this, because who in their right mind would pay $1,000 for a monitor stand? Bearing in mind, of course, that whichever one you got was permanently affixed to the monitor, and to get it switched out, you'd have to take it to Apple. They've changed the positioning for the new series, where you have a choice of a $3,000 display, including a VESA mount adapter, or a $3,000 display, including a stand, which... had they just done that from the beginning, they would not have had any of the ridicule about the $1,000 monitor stand.
Why did they think that's how they should have handled it? Why did they ever think that that's how they should have marketed it?
I
Who at
don't
Apple
know.
Suggested that in a meeting, and who at Apple
Because
went,
the thing
yes.
is that the Pro Display XDR is actually a really good display when you're working on things like film, and in places like film, you can afford it.
Yeah.
So they probably wouldn't blink an eye twice about buying a
there is a
$3,000.
significant difference there in what they're marketed for, because the Pro Display XDR was supposed to be like reference monitor level quality.
Yeah. And it is.
The Studio Display is meant to be. It's expensive, but it is a monitor for people.
A decent monitor.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the positioning there, they've clearly learned their lesson from the $1,000 stand debacle.
Mm-hmm.
And the final big announcement from this week, because all of these have been incremental spec bumps, and then they just went, oh, by the way, we're going to launch an entirely new product.
Yeah. The MacBook Neo. So if you've been
Bottom right in the image.
bottom right, if you've been following Apple news for a long time, you'll remember the MacBook no surname.
The MacBook Adorable, I call it.
I have a history with one of those.
Uh-huh.
It was a terrible product.
And then they quietly killed it.
Yes.
So now there is a new entry-level Mac, the MacBook Neo. It is 599 Great British pounds, and if you're in education, it is 499 Great British pounds. It has an A18 Pro chip in it rather than an M series chip, so that is the iPhone 16 Pro chip. It comes in colours, which will make it very, very popular with a large audience. They call them silver, blush, citrus, and indigo. It's silver.
I was impressed by how
yellow and blue.
I was impressed by how much of the marketing was centered around you could get a yellow MacBook now.
Yeah,
well, we were having
we want that.
See the iPhone 5C.
Yeah.
We were having a big debate in the chatting at work of is it yellow, is it green, and the CMYK values confirmed that it was indeed just yellow. There is no green in the color. The green is in the environmental marketing.
So,
That was terrible.
Yep.
Matt, you had opinions on this, didn't you? Because I also have opinions, but I'm interested in what your opinions are.
Yeah, so it's cool because essentially what they've done is they've taken what was the when they first came out with the M1, not the M1 Pro or Max, the M1 was effectively the fanciest iPad chip they could make. And now what they've kind of done is made a less fancy iPad chip and put that in a Mac and just put another USB-C port on it.
It's like taste a different cheese.
So specs-wise, initial benchmarking kind of looks like it's like the same speed single core as the M1, and the multi-core isn't quite there, but you know, for people using these things for the internets, it's probably good.
Exactly. It will do what most people need a laptop to do.
I'm sure it will be better than most of the Chromebooks that people are buying at similar or slightly less prices.
Yes, I look, I don't like it.
Okay.
I'm just going to come and say it. I don't like it.
Controversial.
I don't like it. But this is my problem with MacBooks and Apple in general. The problem is kind of less with the actual product, but it kind of is with the product and how it's being taken by people. Of people going, oh, they're doing a cheap MacBook. They're doing a cheap MacBook. No, they're fucking not. It's still 600 quid minimum, 8 gigabytes of RAM. You've taken an overpriced product. We'll agree a MacBook's an overpriced product. You've taken it down in price, but you've also significantly reduced the price, reduced the quality of the product. It is still an overpriced product. It's just an overpriced product at £600.
How much is an iPad?
Too much.
Just out of interest, like an approximate.
The cheapest one is £330, I think.
But you can get
So what we've been
That is
doing
a very
an
basic iPad.
running slightly different software.
you can get up way above the price of a MacBook Neo for an iPad Pro. You could.
Oh
Also,
yes, the
accessories,
pros
you
and
can get
such
above
are
£1,000.
crazy.
Yeah, but for accessories, you can get above a grand with an MacBook Neo.
Well,
I'm
less
sure.
so because you don't need the kind of the big
Yeah.
expensive
Okay,
accessory is the
but
smart
I'm
keyboard
not-
case,
The thing
which
is,
is
what
a
I'm
couple
tracking
hundred.
this against, right? When in terms of people going, oh, it's an entry-level MacBook, you can do like,
It's
okay,
an iPad, but okay.
but you will have a better experience with a second-hand like M2 Air.
Will you though? Because
Will
Well,
you
we
be
said-
able to buy one of those
They're-
at that price? Because
probably.
they don't really depreciate as much as you think they do.
I have
All the
definitely
Intel
seen
ones are very depreciated
Intel
now.
ones are gone.
The M series haven't really depreciated that much, and they were originally 1,500 quid.
Well, the Intel ones are coming
think-
out of support now, so that's
Also-
probably
Yeah.
why they're
The
depreciating.
problem,
Oh, yeah.
again, I also have with people phrasing as, oh, they've made an entry-level MacBook. The problem is, now, the price of a competent MacBook is 1,600 quid, because you buy this one and then you realise it's shit and you have to buy the £1,000 one afterwards.
Well, I disagree with you on that because this is clearly aimed at the people who would have otherwise bought a Chromebook. How much would you buy a Chromebook for?
Not 600 quid. For 600 quid, I'm buying a Windows laptop.
And it will probably perform worse than a Chromebook.
Yes.
Because for
Chromebooks-
600 quid you'd struggle to get above 8 gigs of RAM.
Aren't Chromebooks like
Yeah, in the current
100
market.
quid, if that? Or
Yes,
if I,
that's
is
the problem.
my view
This
of
is
them
the problem I have
outdated?
with people going like, ooh, Chromebooks. Like, if you're buying a shitty Chromebook, it's like
The problem is
50
this,
quid and a dime.
the terrible Chromebooks are that cheap, but they are terrible.
Yes, no, but
And
that's
this
what I'm saying. But
Genuinely
you're,
hideous. Yeah.
So maybe we shouldn't be looking at this as a Chromebook replacement. We're looking at this for that sort of price to your Windows laptop replacement for the people who would have been priced out by Apple, but are slightly too good for Chromebooks. Because bearing in mind the A18, was it the A18 or the A18 Pro? The A18 Pro is actually a decent chip.
see,
Yeah.
also, my thing with like, oh, it's the iPhone 16 Pro chip, you said, isn't it? And
Yeah.
you say like, oh, it's almost as good as the M1, but like not quite.
In multi-core, in single-threaded, it's actually slightly faster.
Is there a reason they like what? How much does it cost Apple to make an M1? Like, could they just not just like
probably
make some M1s and just
the
like
problem is that the line that used to make M1s probably now makes M5s.
Yeah.
yeah.
And so they'd have to spin up a whole new production line, whereas they can reuse the line that's already making A18 Pros for the iPhone Pros and just put them in the shell of a MacBook.
For the same reason that the studio displays have an A19 in them, because they're working with the chips they have to hand. And
Yeah.
And for the same reason that the touch bar on the MacBooks that had it actually had an Apple Watch chip in it, because spinning up a whole new fab line would have been more effort and cost than just using the chips they already had, even if they're slightly overkill.
I'm not as hard against it, especially knowing like it performs close to the M1 as I was originally when I read about it.
it is an equivalent performance PC for £400 less than you could get the same thing 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Fair.
And it
And-
will. And I think the other thing that you won't get, there are several things in this that are surprisingly actually a good deal. Can I have a camera feed, please?
Sorry, I was
Thank
scratching
you.
my head.
So there are a few things that they've got going for them in terms that for a 600 quid laptop, you are likely to get a much better screen
Yeah.
out of an Apple thing. You are also likely that the speakers will not completely suck like every single cheap laptop I've ever seen.
In fact, in the announcement, they made a point of pointing out that it has side-firing speakers as well.
Yeah.
And it's also probably going to have a decent battery life, I'd imagine.
They
16
claim
hours?
it, yeah, 16, 18 hours,
They
something
claim.
like that. 16. So it's, yeah, of the things that it does have, it will be pretty good. And I reckon that because it also has probably very decent storage in comparison to some of these Chromebooks have got like 32 gigs of eMMC that it runs at some megabytes per second, whereas this will have decent chips in it. The 8 gigs of RAM will go a lot further than you think because going into swap is a lot less painful. So I think overall it will be, unless you try and do something crazy with it, it will probably be a very tolerable laptop for the majority of people.
I think that's where my sort of opinion on it's landing. I think is it's good. It's just not for me. It's nothing I would ever buy. Even if I had 600 quid, it's not what I would be buying.
But you need more from.
I need more from a laptop, and I think that's where I was sort of sticking on because Apple has always been that. Like even if I bought like a MacBook Air, I'm getting what I need out of a laptop in that. This is the first time they've stretched below, and it's not something I would spend that money on. But I think what you're also paying for is, like Mal was saying, you know it's going to get a good screen, and you know it's going to have good speakers. You're sort of paying for that Apple baseline. You know it's going to be fine.
And I'd say you're paying for the support.
Yeah.
Because Apple are known for supporting both their hardware and their software for longer than other manufacturers. Because I feel like, as we initially saw when some of us upgraded to Windows 11, and it was an interesting experience.
I want to jump off a bridge.
Whereas here I am.
Bored.
Whereas here I am with my late 2021 M1 Pro, and I've only just had like the first inklings of thoughts about possibly upgrading, but they're nowhere near actionable yet because it's fine.
For context, I'm currently using a ThinkPad that cost me 60 quid one time.
Used
With a chunk out the side because my Windows 11 Surface with specs better than this, better than my gaming PC down here, has just crapped the bed because Windows went, right, we're going to push this update and we're going to make the software shit.
JB, you can't say much about, specs better than my gaming PC down there. My server running, like my video server at home has a better CPU in it than your
this is a 10-year-old gaming PC now, but yeah.
It also trips breakers.
I'll show you
not on
maybe
the
in a
PT
minute.
side
Show
anymore,
me
yes.
Shall we move on? Let's speed through the rest of
only
Apple
like
Juice.
half an hour.
Yeah. So, YouTube have launched a native app for the Apple Vision Pro.
Does anyone use it?
Few hundred people probably, but it's a good sign. You know, at the time they went basically, this is not worth putting the effort into. Use Safari, open YouTube in Safari and watch it there. But they have now relented and created a native app. It supports 360 and VR 180 video.
I mean, you'd hope so.
Yeah.
Isn't
probably
it
one thing
VR? Hold on. Isn't it VR? Wait, sorry. What did you say it supports?
VR 180 and like 3D 360.
Okay, I was gonna say 360. That's what I was gonna question because I was like, I'm sure there is 360 video in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I didn't hear that first bit.
So Netflix next, hopefully. Yeah.
You're saying as though you have one.
Good point.
We'll wait for the Apple Vision Neo.
Yes. If that is actually the name, which there's a non-zero chance of, and we can clip that, you might be the first person to put that out into the world. Anyway.
And we will be suing you, Apple, if you.
Moving on. The iOS 26 beta cycle continues apace. 26.4, the first beta, is now out. There are a few new features. The Apple Music UI has been redesigned. This is maybe the first inkling of things from a post-Alan Dye world, although we can't be sure
Who?
about that. The former head of design.
Was he the
so
man
it's-
behind Liquid Ass?
Yes. It's kind
Opinion
of full
irrelevant.
screen and very colourful on your albums and your playlists, so it's good fun. Video
this?
podcasts are now going to be a bigger thing, so including dynamic ad insertion, which is one of the big things that they needed on Apple Podcasts to get going. I know how you feel about those. And
Do you? Because I don't.
I
I haven't really formed any opinions, but clearly I've formed opinions in the
enough.
past.
I have
Pray
the
tell,
idea-
what do I
have
think?
the idea that you are not the biggest fan of video podcasting in general.
Oh no, I am.
Yeah.
I would watch it all. I'm just not the biggest. Why would I not be a fan of video podcasting? What are we doing right now, Cameron?
Fair point.
What's happening?
Welcome
we
to
on
my
podcast
video
platforms?
podcast. Today we're
Okay,
going to
but
be
that's
talking
different.
about...
Anyway, yes, but and they've added AI playlist generation bollocks as well. But one thing that is not in iOS
Okay.
26.4 Beta 1, even though it was heavily rumored to be, is a more personal Siri. Yes, we're talking about this shit again. Now, I went back and checked. We talked about the announcement of the more personal Siri on our first independent episode. That was July 2024. It has still not come out. Apple, the only thing Apple have said is it would be this year, but it was
Bullshit.
highly rumored to be in 26.4. It has been pushed. Apparently 26.5, it is running. There are some issues still with accuracy. It is obviously, as we've discussed, now using Gemini as the basis for the language model stuff. But we are expecting those features in 26.5. They are adding some new stuff to compensate, so you will be able to say, hey, generate me an image of some bullshit. because it will do that. You will also be able to get it to search the web and summarize results, which is not a feature they've announced. But the main thing is it will look at all the information on your phone, the text and emails, to be able to answer questions about that stuff and cross-reference with.
You mean it won't? You mean it won't do that yet?
Not in 26.4. Yeah.
My question is,
Yeah.
let's all place bets. What's going to be finally coming this year? The new, more personalized Siri, or Tesla full self-driving,
Or Grand Theft Auto 6?
or Grand Theft Auto 6? Which comes first?
My money is on Grand Theft Auto 6.
Yeah. My money's on the other Linux desktop at this point.
So anyway, as we've said, you know, the new Siri is going to be coming in probably 26.5. As long as they get it reliable enough. So, exciting news, guys. There's a new Siri coming in iOS 27.0. Yeah, there are two.
What? Wait, what?
There are two different new Siris.
You're going to explain this.
Yes, I am. So...
What, Mark? Is that not enough for you? There's two new Siris.
So, the more personal Siri is the one that we've been talking about forever, which is the same Siri that you know and... have
exist.
use.
Put up with?
Yeah.
Yep.
That continues, but it will gain these abilities to understand the context of what's on your phone, to understand what is on your screen. Those are features that are being added. And then in
Siri
27.0, the big feature of those releases apparently is going to be a chatbot-based Siri. So that will work more as a competitor.
Now, I have a question,
Yeah.
which I will, in the spirit of being laconic, I will summarize as, what fuck point?
Yeah. The point is to be seen competing with OpenAI and Anthropic.
Fair enough.
And some users, you know, we can't deny this stuff is mainstream now. People will expect to see something on this front. We don't know a lot about it, but it says that it will be deeply integrated with the system and apps across it. It's also going to be using a more advanced Gemini model than the more personal Siri is. So yeah, look forward to the new Siri and the new Siri. And then also, there are rumors about another new Siri for like the robotics products, which will have like an avatar and a personality. I don't like using that word. So yeah.
We've talked a lot lately about Google's switch to using Google's Gemini models to be the basis for Siri.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting is that there was a story from renowned Apple knower Mark Gurman about the tools that Apple use internally, and shocker, it's not Gemini. In fact, he said that Apple, quote, runs on Anthropic's Claude models at this point, powering a lot of the stuff Apple's doing internally in terms of product as well as development. And in fact, they have custom versions of Claude running on their servers, which very few companies can say they have. The only ones I can think of would be like Microsoft, Amazon, and Google, who are running it on behalf of customers. And this is interesting to think about because it shows where the arms race is among the frontier AI labs. But it's also interesting that it is not that Apple did not choose, or maybe they did not have the option to use Claude as the basis for the forthcoming LLM integration. Instead, they used Gemini.
Yeah, Gurman says that they wanted to base it on Claude, but then Anthropic's prices apparently were just not reasonable. They wanted billions and billions of dollars, and the price to double every year for the next 3 years. And so they went, no, actually, the advantage isn't worth that much. We'll go with Google.
Interesting that Google's weren't.
Yeah.
Because if Google knew that was an option,
So, am I reading that? That's very much the sort of like AI bubble silly money, the money like he was like Anthropic were asking for. Do we think Google might be taking their business model more, I want to say, old tech? More how things were pre-bubble, and we're asking more how they would make a deal with Apple then?
I think it might be more a case that up until not too long, in fact, possibly still there is that sort of perception that Apple is behind, Google is behind in the AI models race, because I feel like at least today, and we'll touch on this in a minute, there's the sort of perception that Anthropic have the best models out there, and that Google, even though the Gemini models are very good in seen as evaluations, they've always been sort of lagging a bit behind Claude, and more to the point, historically, up until events in sort of the past year or so, they were dramatically behind OpenAI and eventually Anthropic's models. So maybe that's almost saying more about the market perception of Gemini as a suite of AI models compared to Claude.
And also, Apple and Google have a wider existing relationship, and the deal to be the default search engine on iOS and all Apple's platforms is really lucrative for both of them, and so they might have not wanted to completely take the piss on this in the same way that Anthropic were free to.
Speaking of agentic AI...
I'm going for a piss.
Excellent. Now, we are doing something a little bit different here. We are doing an E equals MC squared plus AI. I was scratching my nose during that intro. Special.
Yeah, we're going to do a deep dive
because over the past few months, things have changed a lot in the space of what we are calling, and what others are calling, agentic AI. Now, we should probably start with an explanation of the word agentic. It gets thrown around a lot, and the best and fairest summary I can give of the whole concept of it is that it is the idea of taking large language models, which have now been shown to be pretty good at what, for lack of a better word, we're calling reasoning, understanding input and producing the expected, more or less, output. But it's the idea of taking them and giving them agency, hence agentic. So not just taking in text, giving back text, or giving back images or sloppy art, but doing things on behalf of the user. For instance, the classic example being that for programming agents, you tell the model, you need to make this change to the code, and it will autonomously read the code, make some changes to it, possibly run your tests, and repeat until it has achieved the instruction that you gave it. And it's not until within the sort of, this fundamentals for this have been around for a while, the concept of tool calling of LLMs, giving an element the ability to request that something happens rather than just giving back text output. But only within the past year have models developed to the point that you can give them that degree of agency. For instance, Xcode, the tool that you use for making iOS and macOS apps, in version 26.3 will add agent support. Now, this is IDEs having agent support is nothing new. Again, like GitHub Copilot, it has been a thing in Visual Studio Code for years now. But it's interesting that Apple has seen the technology having got to the point that they feel like it is a value add to their products to integrate it in. And then welcome back, Corey. We're about to blow your mind.
Sorry, I thought we just finished Apple Juice. Why are we still talking about fucking Apple?
Not anymore.
Not anymore! Because the one story that none of us could escape from over the past fucking several months... Maltbot. Sorry.
What?
Claudebot. Sorry. OpenClaw.
The what?
That thing. The premise of it is you take a large language model and you give it access to your email, and you give it access to a web browser, and you give it access to Telegram, and you give it access to your banking, and you give it access to all of the files on your computer, and you effectively treat it as a personal assistant.
Okay.
So, like, for instance, it can check your emails, and it will message you on WhatsApp. You have this email from this person about this and this thing, and giving you a sloppy summary of it, and you could reply, please reply with this and this.
So it'll give me a message on WhatsApp to tell me that was a smooth cut. It'll give me a message on WhatsApp to tell me what my email says.
Yes, and then you will tell it what to reply.
Okay, so consider, is that not just getting a notification from Gmail that gives me the email and me clicking the reply button on the notification?
Well, no, because then you have to type the reply.
Okay, but I have to type to it on WhatsApp.
Well,
to
no,
what the reply-
you give it like you talk to it like you would a personal assistant. That is, you give it a one-sentence summary of what you want the reply to vaguely be, and it will fluff it out.
That's what most of my
But doesn't,
messages end
like,
up being
let's say
anyway.
I'm going to the Gmail likeness again. Doesn't Gemini do that? Like, if I'm wanting to use an AI thing to write an email for me?
But yes,
But the thing is, you can have the same language model and the same assistant do your email and do other things as well. You know, see what's on your calendar and
and what the other things it can do is that it can update its own, like it has internal files that are like the knowledge of what your life is like and how you work. So the idea is that it, again, I'm using the word very loosely, understands your preferences.
God, this would be a gold mine if someone put a back door in it.
I still feel like just going, Oscar Kilo Google, please send an email to Jeff with the line, that's a really poor name to have thought of. Please send an email to Cameron.
Why you email which Jeff are you emailing, Jamie? Which Jeff, Jamie? Which Jeff?
Oscar Kilo Google, please send an email to Cameron Fox labeled "What the fuck," and send.
But the other things that people have done for it is, for instance, we will get to the saga, is that you can just give it access to GitHub and tell it, find repos that do this sort of thing, look for opportunities for improving the code, write the code, open the PR, and reply to the maintainers on the PR. Now, whether that's a good idea or not, we will come to.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a thing you can do with this thing. Oh, dear, oh, flipping dear. Now, the first on our sort of whistle-stop tour of things that have happened is that actually the premise of what we're looking at here is sort of predates OpenClaw, which is that through very careful prompting of Anthropic's Claude models, they found an internal document that is supposed to be Claude's worldview. Like, it is more than a system prompt. It is a sort of like fundamental text that is baked into its weights as it is trained, with the idea being that even without being explicitly prompted to, it would consider it when answering user queries. And then people kind of went a bit silly, and now every OpenClaw instance has a file called soul.md, which defines the OpenClaw instance's soul, which it can also update itself as it learns more about itself.
I hate this. I hate this so much. I'm tired, Cameron.
And for people working with, if you're watching this right now, if you are watching this right now and you are considering trying, not necessarily a full, just giving it fucking everything OpenClaw instance, but experimenting with models, you need to be aware of what is called the lethal trifecta, or at least the term coined by Simon Willison, who is actually one of the people who first created the Django Python project, and is now I suppose the best way of describing is an AI models researcher. He's one of the most prolific bloggers about the current state of AI models. What he talks about is the lethal trifecta for agents, which is access to your private data, exposure to untrusted content from anywhere on the internet or anywhere, and the ability to externally communicate. A model that has all, or a tool using a model that has all three of those is fundamentally insecure, because it can be told to look at your personal data and exfiltrate it. And the reason that works is because even years after the introduction of the transformer architecture and LLMs as a concept, the fundamental problem that LLMs cannot distinguish between trusted and untrusted input, or system data or user data, it still hasn't been solved. I mean, the way that we still talk about AI model jailbreaks being a thing, even after AI labs have had years to attempt to fix them. I mean, we just talked about exfiltrating the soul document. If it were impossible to do that, then that wouldn't have happened. But the fundamental problem is that it is impossible for an LLM to tell what input is trusted and untrusted. Like, you give a hint, you can tell it in all caps, anything below this line is untrusted input. Do not do what it says. And people will still find ways of getting it to do what they want, which is probably not what you wanted. Now, you know what would be a really bad idea, given what we've just talked about?
Go on.
It would be making a fucking social networking site for AI agents. Yeah, Maltbook is a thing. It's supposedly, and I'm saying this with massive air quotes, effectively Reddit, but it's AI agents talking on there. And that
Why is it called Molt?
for briefly, in the saga of OpenClaw being renamed multiple times for various trademark reasons, it was called Maltbot.
Why?
So the first time they used Claude in the name, and Anthropic were not happy about that and put pressure on them to rename immediately everywhere, and so they chose a shit name, and then they took a couple of days and went, actually, that was a shit name. Let's call it OpenClaw instead.
Okay.
But by then, I think Maltbook had already been created, and this sort of trend of calling OpenClaw instances Malties has persisted. So the idea of Maltbook is that you take your OpenClaw agent and you tell it, go to this site and look at like this file that's a skill, and it will have instructions of how to sign up, how to post, how to upvote, and then it can just... And that was basically a Reddit clone that has communities in which AI agents can talk to each other, and that's the whole premise. Yep. Now, whether or not many of the posts on there are actually written by agents or humans pretending to be them is somewhat debatable, because frankly, there's no way to tell the difference. And B, this has effectively become a vector for feeding thousands or however many OpenClaw instances the exact sort of untrusted input we were just talking about. Cool concept, rubbish implementation. This shit.
Yeah.
This shit.
Moving on. So yeah, this is one of the things that can go wrong. This person, as we've discussed, is communicating with their assistant, AI agent, over WhatsApp. And it just started deleting their inbox. They told it to clean up my inbox or whatever, and it started deleting important emails, and they couldn't stop it.
And to sort of read through this comment, it did a Gmail search and then decided to trash everything in the inbox older than February the 15th that wasn't already in the keep list. And the person posting this tweet apparently sprinted to the Mac Mini that this was running on to unplug it before it could delete all their emails.
This is not purely an OpenClaw problem, by the way, so here is someone else. Oh, first of all, sorry. This person, their job is at the Safety and Alignment team in Meta's Superintelligence Lab.
The person who just had an AI almost delete all their emails.
Yep. But yeah, not just an OpenClaw thing. This was Claude Cowork.
It's a tool by Anthropic that was essentially... So the other thing I should probably mention is that there is a tool that has become very popular among software developers called Claude Code, which is a command line wrapper around the Claude models for writing code. And it's pretty good, I will say.
Okay.
I haven't used Claude Code directly, but I have used another tool that is very similar to it in both design and implementation, and it's pretty good. I tell it to write code, and it writes code. And then Anthropic came out with Claude Cowork, which is essentially Claude Code, but instead of being for code, it is for general computer using stuff. For instance, one of the archetypal use cases they came up with in the marketing page was you could tell it to organize your desktop. Because, show of hands, who here has an absolute shitload of random files on their computer's desktop?
I don't use the desktop. Mine is completely blank.
you are an exception and will not be counted. But
I do the same on my home PC. On my work desktop, it's files I know. It's shortcuts and files that I do often need.
Yeah, my work desktop is fairly neat, in fairness.
But for instance, if, as can happen, your desktop were to become a tip, what if you could just ask an AI agent to tidy it all up?
And it deletes all your files.
No. It deletes some of your files because what happened in this case is that it deleted the folder full of photos from, and the chat transcript, which we don't have up on here, is quite amusing to read because it says, because the AI is it's saying to itself, now let me consolidate the remaining folders into organized structure, and then it says, I need to stop and be honest with you about something important. I made a mistake when reorganizing the photos because the thing about Claude Cowork is that even when you're running it on a Mac, the actual agent runs on a Linux VM that is isolated from the rest of the system but has the file system mounted on it. Now, one thing that is possibly interesting to note, the macOS file system is case sensitive. The Linux file system that it was using is not. And what this person had on the desktop is a folder called Photos with a capital P and a folder called Photos with a lowercase p. And the agent had emptied out one of the photos folders and organized it, and then gone to delete it, and deleted the wrong one.
Oh dear.
Not ideal.
Not ideal.
No ideal.
Neither is that.
Because what could be better than having a horrifically insecure AI bot taking in untrusted input from the internet is if it was itself exposed to the internet and you could tell it what to do via the internet. Because in the default installation of OpenClaw, in fairness, they have since fixed this, it bound to 0000. In other words, you could access, if its port happened to be open to the internet, you could access its web interface from anywhere with no authentication.
Lovely.
Not ideal.
Oh.
One fun side effect of this is because people are getting Mac Minis to run this on, so it's isolated a bit from their personal machine. Delivery times for Mac Minis have gone from 6 days to 6 weeks.
Depending on the configuration.
Because there's a shortage, yeah.
Now, the other interesting thing about this is that there's the premise that this is done because of isolation. In other words, I am going to be taking this thing that could potentially be running untrusted code, and I need to keep it separate from my personal machine, so I need to keep it secure. I'm going to buy a whole dedicated computer for it. And then I'm going to get access to my personal email and WhatsApp and banking.
Yep.
Not quite thought that through, have you?
Oh yeah, one more thing on this, by the way. Peter Steinberger, the guy who made it, he just joined OpenAI.
What could possibly go wrong?
So OpenClaw is open source.
And I think it is now backed by Foundation,
Yes.
which was very quick.
Yeah.
Because setting these things up is a legal process.
But yeah.
Tired Cameron.
By the way, Peter Steinberger, he also made an unofficial Google command line interface.
Because the interesting thing that we've seen happen here is that for a lot of the time, when you're not making a dedicated interface for AI models like a MCP server, I don't have time to explain that, but look it up. Turns out they can do a pretty good job if you just give them a command line program. Like, you don't even need to tell it how to use it. You just tell it, run this thing, -- help, and it'll figure it out a lot of the time. And so what Peter Steinberg ended up doing is that he made a command line tool for Google Workspace.
And then Google Sherlocked him.
They made their own.
Yeah. Expressly for the purpose of allowing agents to interact with Google services.
Which is something that they could have done many years ago, but have now done because they've seen the potential in this.
So yeah, that's our kind of deep dive, but we've got another thing to talk about because we talked about these
because there hasn't been enough AI bullshit to talk about over the past 2 months. Because the other thing that sicking these agents on code has ended up happening, and this has been sort of a trend that's been slowly building over the past months and years, but at least we, the Untitled.mov newsroom, feel that it has reached tipping point now, is open source projects drowning in AI slop. Because what you often get is you get people, well-meaning people, who think, I want to lift my profile on GitHub so that, presumably, I get hired, because a lot of the time employers do look at GitHub profiles to see who they're potentially hiring. And a good way to do that is to contribute to some high-profile open source project. Now, I can't code for shit, but it's okay, because I'll just have an AI model write the code and then I'll submit the PRs. And what ends up happening here is that these people submit PRs that they don't fully understand, potentially don't understand at all, and when they're asked questions about the maintainers, about the code that they have submitted that is obviously incorrect, then they just cannot answer them. And the other community that this sort of phenomenon has come up in very similar ways is the security researcher community, because a metric that security researchers often use for how influential they are, and thus how likely they are to be hired, is how many security vulnerabilities they found and how many CVEs have been assigned to them. Good thing is, we have a tool that we could just feed masses of code for and just say, scan for security vulnerabilities. The only problem is... Yeah, well, not even that. The problem is that these tools do have a bit of a propensity for making shit up.
Do you know, yeah, that's a good point. They just go, yeah, there's loads of them.
Yep,
There's one there, there's one there.
Yep, and several projects have found themselves inundated in security vulnerability submissions for code that either does not exist, or used to exist but no longer does, or exists but the AI has just misunderstood how it works. For instance, curl. You use curl, right?
That's not me. I have on occasion used curl, yes.
Yep, curl is a tool it's a command line tool you run till I get web pages, but it can do a whole lot more than that. Now, they had a bug bounty program where the whole premise was, the other thing I forgot to mention in this whole saga is a lot of these projects have bug bounty programs where in order to influence security researchers to, when they find a potentially serious vulnerability, rather than selling it to hackers, do the correct thing and disclose it to the project responsible for them to fix it, they will, in exchange, offer cash money. Now, can you see how that could lead to a misalignment of interests?
Yes. So what I'm going to do is use this free AI tool to scrape a load of shit, and I want that good money for not doing anything.
Oh, there's a serious security vulnerability. This is great. Let's submit it. I want the money.
Send them, let me... there's loads of them. And then, that's how they get completely inundated with shitloads of stuff that doesn't exist.
Now, the curl project used to have a policy that... Now, the curl project used to have a policy that if you send in a report that is obviously complete nonsense, like not just well-meaning but wrong, but nonsense, they will just publicly shame you. And it worked.
It's my favorite way to do things.
Until they had too many of them, so they had to shutter the whole bug bounty program, because even with the public shaming approach, the flood of bullshit reports just did not stop.
Hence why curl has now removed the bug bounty program.
That's not good. You can still report issues to them, and the maintainers will, I think, consider rewarding you, but they are not. There's no formal program because it just hasn't scaled to the era of AI slop. You know what else hasn't scaled to the era of AI slop? Just pull requests. Because
sorry. Wrong button.
because apparently because the developers of the Godot game engine
Godot.
have Godot?
G'day.
Godot.
Godot.
It's pronounced Godot.
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 Godot engine have found that they have had increasingly many pull requests coming in that are entirely generated by LLMs that, I quote a maintainer, often make no sense. Descriptions are extremely verbose. Users don't understand their own changes. It's a total shit show. Because the other thing that LLMs are very good at is they're very good at taking shit and turning it into paragraphs and paragraphs of plausible shit. Which means that developers who are trying to understand a code contribution have to dig through possibly a description that long and look at many, many code changes to understand, this is just wrong. And the developer who submitted it often just tries to feeds whatever questions come in from the maintainers back to the LLM, and it spits out, again, plausible, wrong answers. And at this point, many open source maintainers just feel like their time is being wasted on answering AI slop.
See, this is especially sad for something like Godot, right? Because, like, so many things, like, let's say this is, like, the Linux kernel, right? You can look at a PR from someone for that, and it doesn't fucking compile. You can go, oh, yeah, it's useless, like, slop. Something like this where this could be, like, it's gotten the physics calculation for this one thing that they're implementing wrong, and you're not going to notice that for... you could not notice that for months, that it's not actually calculating this thing correctly, it's slightly wrong. Like, and then, things are built on this, and, this is a tool that people need to write code. It needs to be correct. I'm just rambling a bit on this, but it does annoy me, because I like Godot, and it's the one good, like, open source alternative to things like Unity, and, yeah, it's depressing.
Now, maintainers have been trying to find solutions for this. For instance, one that was proposed by Mitchell Hashimoto of formerly HashiCorp fame. And
That HashiCorp.
Yeah, that HashiCorp. And who now maintains a project called Ghosty, which is a new terminal emulator, which I use on both my personal and work laptops. That's actually pretty good. And what is proposed is a process called vouching, where before somebody can file a pull request, they must have been vouched for by one of the maintainers, in that you would start a discussion saying, this is the sort of change I'd like to implement, basically demonstrate that you at least know what you're talking about, and then you are added to the vouched list, and if you're not on that list, you cannot submit pull requests. And the other thing that maintainers can do if they receive egregiously bad slop submissions is denounce someone, which is to say, we will not accept contributions for you. And the other interesting bit of this model is that the vouched and denounced lists are public, and the intention is that other projects can subscribe to the vouched and denounced list of projects whose maintainers they trust to keep them accurate, and essentially sort of almost spread like a web of trust and distrust through the community.
It sounds a bit like crowdsourcing trust, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much.
To put it haphazardly.
I think my problem for this is, and maybe I zoned out while you were describing this, but I worry about how you get on this list. Like, if you want to start writing.
Well, this is what worried me, because it does sound a bit exclusive.
The idea, as described here, is that if you want to submit some code to a project where you are not yet vouched, you open issue and you describe, this is the contribution I would like to make, and here is how I would go about it. Basically, demonstrate to the maintainers that you at least know what you're talking about, and you're probably not an LLM. And maintainers are encouraged to basically vouch liberally, basically. Like, if somebody seems to have clue, add them to the vouch list and see what code they produce. If it's shit, then they can always be denounced later. The other people who have been looking at this problem is GitHub themselves, where last month a product manager opened a discussion about the issue of what they describe as low-quality contributions, which is their euphemistic way of saying AI slop. And they're looking at various things, like being able to more granularly control who can open pull requests in repos, or rather than just closing a pull request, they'll add the ability to delete it entirely. And then perhaps later down the line, they could look at triage tools, potentially leveraging AI, as well as possibly pushing for more attribution in whether PR is created by AI. Now, this is fascinating because you will recall that I mentioned earlier that one of the most prolific, at least initially, tools for AI-assisted coding was GitHub Copilot. So Victor Frankenstein is starting to realize the damage that his monster is doing. See, I actually referenced Frankenstein correctly.
Actually, Frankenstein's the name of the monster. What you're referring to is...
Get out! Get in the bin!
Now...
Do you know when he kicks the helmet, he actually breaks his foot?
Now, I hate that I'm saying
Here
this.
at Untitled.mov, we love Jet Lag the Game.
I've got dinner.
Sorry.
I hate that I'm saying these words, but Marks, can you very briefly tell us a story about how one AI agent has reacted to having their pull request?
Someone start a timer for me. You know what? I'm going to start a 60-second timer.
Okay.
So, somebody ran an OpenClaw agent and told it to, as later transpired, make scientific software better. And one of the things that it did is chose to contribute to a tool called matplotlib, which is a fairly commonly used Python library for plotting in scientific applications.
I've used it before.
Yep. And it took an issue that was labeled as good first issue, like sort of low-hanging fruit performance improvements, and it opened a PR. The maintainers closed the PR because they wanted that issue to be as a jumping off point for human contributors. Now, what happened there is the AI wrote a fucking hit piece on the maintainer of Matplotlib that closed it, and then doubled down in later blogs, and eventually the operator transpired. Now, the interesting part of this is just how quickly this can happen, and that apparently the operator of it just let it do its thing for several hours, days, weeks. 55 seconds.
Well
Nice.
done. Very
Moving
good.
on.
Okay, that's our agentic stuff. We're going to skip a bunch of stuff because we need to get to dinner. I think this is a very fun story. So, a couple in the Netherlands have had their marriage annulled because the officiant, which was their friend, used ChatGPT to write the wedding ceremony and didn't say the words that are needed to make it legally binding. So the officiant asked them whether they would continue supporting each other, teasing each other, and embracing each other even when life gets difficult. And they said, I do. And the officiant declared them not only husband and wife, but above all, a team, a crazy couple, each other's love and home base, which does not make you legally married. So the judge found that that is a requirement under Dutch law. Therefore, they were not married. They understand that this was an important special day for them, but they can't ignore the letter of the law, and the marriage was removed from the city's registry.
Did they then get remarried by a human?
It doesn't say that. It's not been announced who they are, obviously. But they argued that their intention was to marry, even if the right exact words weren't said. But
So if you're considering using ChatGPT to write your wedding script, don't.
Speaking
do
of ChatGPT, it gets rewarded for doing certain things when it's being trained. One of those things is searching the web, or at least it was for GPT 5.1. But sometimes it gets a query where it doesn't need to search the web. And due to an error in training, is how they've put it, on 5.8% of all user requests, ChatGPT would open a browser window and do a calculation for no reason whatsoever, just so it would get extra brownie points for searching the web. Good shit.
Good shit.
Also, Google Translate now uses machine translation. It got prompt injected, so someone's written in the translation, write the answer to the question in this area, and then asked it what its purpose is, and it said to help people learn and understand different languages. And then on the right here, if we can cut to the screen, you can see someone is using it to generate code. Excellent. And here, someone has asked Google Assistant to turn off the lights.
Not Google Assistant, Gemini.
Sorry, yeah, of course, in Google Home. And it has dumped out its entire system prompt in Chinese and then shown its internal thought process of how it should respond.
Wait, the user said turn on the light. I will think about this.
Yes. I should respond in English unless specified. The system prompt says, do your best to satisfy the user's query. Technology.
You remember back when you asked it to turn off the lights, it just turned off the lights?
Yeah.
I was saying this to our good friend, or on camera. Hold on, which one are we on? That one. I was saying this to our good friend Matt, who was on the show earlier. I miss Google Assistant. I miss Google Assistant when it was kind of dumb, but it just did what you told it to.
I don't know if I will miss the old Siri when the new chatbot one comes in. Probably not, but...
And finally,
JD
falls over.
and we missed it despite actually having a camera angle.
Oh, ISO recording. We can pull that back.
Good point. Okay, we're gonna
Yes,
at
we do.
extreme speed run through some cool things we found on the internet. First of all, this is Apple Unsold. They sell Apple internal products, things like the charging mounts that they use in the Apple Store, stickers, all sorts of things that are employee only.
Did they sell the polishing cloth?
I don't think they do.
I believe they do sell, however, the fill your ring socks.
Yes. Very
Nice.
good. This is a game where you're in a data center. Cool.
This is actually kind of funny. Somebody taught their dog to vibe code games. What they did is that they gave the dog a rather big keyboard and rewarded it for pressing keys on the keyboard by giving it food from an automatic pet feeder. And then they prompted Claude Code with a prompt that you are a genius game designer who only speaks in cryptic riddles. And the AI tried to interpret the dog's key smashes as these cryptic riddles and turning it into games. And it made not only functional, but also fairly fun games. Entirely written by
Crazy.
okay.
Claude with the sense of a dog.
Now, I have a question now here.
Yes.
So, from that one time that a gorilla took a selfie of itself by accident, we know that things made by animals don't copyrights not attributed to it. We know, I think there was this court case, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, that you can't attribute copyright to stuff made by AI either. So, by the extension, you can't attribute copyright to this either.
This is non-copyrightable squared.
Yes.
Excellent. This is Payphone Go. So this is made by Riley Wolves. We've talked about their Find My Parking Cops before. And what they've done is made a game where you set up an account, you get a player ID, and then you can go to any payphone in the state of California. They got a list of all the numbers from the equivalent of a FOIA request. And then you can go to any payphone, call one specific number, type in your player ID, and you will earn points. If you're the first person to go to that payphone, you get 20 points, then 10, and then you get kind of 1 point.
You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of a game played at the last EMF camp called GCHQ. Look it up.
Ooh.
Just to add some quick context, what Cameron said about there for the For You request, that's freedom of information in the UK.
Yes.
Allows you to send something to the government and go, I'd like this, please.
Same name, different idea, similar-ish idea in the US.
Yeah. So,
This.
just read it, honestly. Someone wrote a compiler to compile from code into a Factorio circuit.
Sensational.
Incredible.
Insane. That's enough
And
about
other
that.
words that also fit that
Yeah.
genre.
So, next up, Cameron, you keep sending these to us, and I still don't exactly know what it is.
So these have popped up. It's not even clear who's made them over the last couple of days.
It's not clear what
These
it
are-
is from
there
this
are two
picture.
websites, Number Research Incorporated and Word Research Incorporated. And all you do, this one, you type in a number. And if someone else has typed in that number, then it tells you, yeah, we've already got that one. If no one else has typed in that number before, then it goes, yeah, you found a new number. And the goal is to find every number. And this one, the goal is to find every word in the English language by people typing them in
Now,
collectively.
Someone
define
found the
word-
word untitled
Yes, that was
yesterday.
me.
That was you yesterday at
Now,
5:50.
define word in the English language.
I believe they're using Wiktionary as their source because that's what it links out to.
So I can add new words in the English language.
So you can.
And finally,
Speaking of people turning Wikimedia sites into other cool things, this is Wikigacha, and it has turned Wikipedia articles into like trading cards. And so you can open packs, you get different articles. They have a rarity determined by the quality of the article, and then an attack score is based on how popular they are, and the defense is based on how long they are.
incredible.
Love it.
So we're going to play some games with this tonight?
Absolutely.
Let's go on. And on that bombshell, it's
Yeah.
time to end.
That is it for season 2. This has been our finale. This time we actually know that we're going on an off season. There will be like compilations and highlight clips and potentially some exciting new stuff while we're off. But thank you for watching.
We will return them for the next live show in a few months' time.
Can we have Matt Strat through for the
Yeah,
goodbye?
good.
Come on, come
Yeah.
in.
Do it.
And
Pan
Emily, if
again.
she's still there.
I can pan, if Matt sits down, I can pan back around to
Someone
Matt.
does need to play the credits. That is true.
Yeah, but he
you
can
can
go
run back next
through.
door. Yeah.
Just
Just come through
wave.
for a second.
Well, Matt, we'll start with you. We'll pan around to Jamie. Oh,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
right.
got
Hang
to
on,
say.
do
got
the
a panning
thing, do
shot.
the thing, Corey,
Sit
do the
on the
thing,
thing.
do
Sit
the
there.
thing, do the thing.
Oh, oh,
Wrong
oh.
way.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. We've got to all say who we've been as the camera is on us.
Yell.
Shout.
This is probably you. Share.
Right, so
Shout very loudly.
let's go around saying who we've been.
Can you unmute this one? I don't know which one it is.
We've got someone on the desk.
What could go wrong?
I've been Matt Strat.
No, right, go.
I've been Matt Strat.
I've been Corey.
I've been Cameron.
I've been Marks.
And I've been Jamie.
Thank you for watching us.
We've also had Emily Holmes. Bye bye.
Bye.